In this lesson, we're going to go over the pie charts, line graphs, and bar graphs. Here is the example here. So let's take a look because it's hard to understand these without an example. This is an example of a bar graph. We know it's a bar graph because we see bars here. But how do we read this? The first thing you want to do is look at the title. Health insurance coverage of non-elderly age 0 to 64 in the US in 2006. The title is very important because it tells you what the graph is about. Reading the title, I know this graph is going to tell me how many non-elderly or not old people have health insurance. That helps me understand all these numbers. What you should do when reading a graph, a bar graph or a line graph, is look at the y-axis here and the x-axis here. You might remember this from your graphs in math class. So if I look here, I can see that this is percent. So 20% of people, 40% of people, 60% of people, and 80% of people. The reason I know it's people is because of the title here, how it says of non-elderly. That we know that means non-elderly people. Then I look down here where it says employer, individual, Medicaid, other public, and uninsured. Looking at all this information together, I can conclude that this graph measures what percent of non-elderly people in the US in 2006 got their health insurance coverage from their employer, what percent got their health insurance coverage from individual insurance, what percent got their coverage from Medicaid, from other public insurance, or from uninsured. That is what this graph tells us. Now this is a line graph. It is very similar to a bar graph in that it has the X here and the Y here, and that we have to read the title to understand. So looking at the title, it says world population from 1950 to 2050. Since it's not 2050 yet, I can assume that this is going to give us information about how many people were in the world from 1950 to 2050. Let's take a look at our X and Y axis. So this is obviously the years, right? So in 1950, in 1980, in the future, it's predicting. And you see how it says like 1, 2, 3, 4 here, and then 3 billion, 4 billion? Since the 3 here kind of matches the 3 billion, I can guess that this is billion. So what this is saying is that in 1960, there were 3 billion people. In about, I would say this is about 1975, there were 4 billion people. In about 1988, there were 5 billion people, and so on. So what this graph is doing is it's telling you the world population and predicting the world population. It's basically saying, see how this keeps going up? We think it's going to keep going up. Okay, let's move on to the last one, a pie chart. This is the pie chart. This pie chart we see is going to measure US federal spending. This is basically what like the government, not California, but the White House, that government spent in 2006. What a pie chart does is it really just tells you percentages. So 21% of the money the US federal government spent went to Social Security. 21% went to national defense. 3% went to education, training, employment, and social services. So this graph will give you interesting information. We spent way more money on national defense than we spent on education. Just some interesting information. These are usually the easiest to read, but probably line graphs are going to be the most common. Hopefully that helped, and now you're going to go on to a Google Doc that will test your ability to read what a graph is about.